May I request Ashok to do a quick introduction, please?
Hi everyone. I represent PrestLoans. PrestLoans is a NBFC company, RBI registered, but it's more of a tech platform which services the MSME customers largely. In fact, the bottom of pyramid, we say we are the first M of MSME. We service the micro entrepreneurs where, in fact, they don't have too much of a data footprint available with them. So our idea is to use alternate data, use social information or whatever information we can gather from them, analyze it, and we have created some kind of scorecard which helps us to take credit decision and also to help those people to achieve the objective to grow their business. Especially as you know, in India, businesses are seasonal. So this second half of the financial year is a little more active. So their demand comes very fast. We service in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 towns where again some digital access is not so much, as well as the financial access is comparatively lesser. So our idea is to reach out to those people and provide them timely finance. In addition to that, we also do somewhat of electrical vehicle financing in India, especially in the northern side of India where the demand is comparatively high. And in India, you would have seen that the electrical vehicle does not mean really the big cars or trucks, but they are very small passenger vehicles which are used for short distance or for delivery of goods by these people. So it is a little more of in terms of reaching to last mile and reaching to underserviced people in terms of access to credits. That is what PrestLoans does as a platform where we also collaborate with larger lenders or NBFCs or banks to provide that access.
Thanks.
Let's start with Ashok, because you also mentioned that you're serving this bottom of the pyramid. So I think that would be interesting to see. You have like most hands-on on this particular MSME sector. So please.
Thank you, Becca. I think you have rightly mentioned and started that India is growing very, very fast. And incidentally, India is a country where the demand is coming from consumption side, from rural economy side. So it is not that India as a country is dependent on other countries to grow, but within itself it is growing extremely well. When we talk about MSME, which are about say 60 million people, if we broadly see, and they contribute close to somewhere 35-40% to the GDP. So which is a very large number in terms of contribution, whether in terms of count of people or the way they have been spread out, the way they are supporting India's economy is very large. Now, when they are very large, within that, if we divide them into multiple segments and look at the micro, let's say M or MSM, micro, small or medium, the micro it is very large. So out of the total, close to 95%, 94% are micro segment of MSME who are now doing a lot of activities, whether they are into B2B segment or B2C, whether they are trading, manufacturing, services. So in all those segments, they're well diversified, I will say. India is anyway a diversified country, so they're very well diversified in different kind of activities. Now, when we speak to a lot of people here, and especially in the panel also, they talk about data, and everybody is trying to fetch data either from bureau or from GST or from banking, and then they try to analyze those data. Now, incidentally, our experience in this whole segment is very different. When you go to tier 2, 3, 4 villages, then unfortunately, this data access is still very less. Number one, we say that internet penetration is very high. The habit of these small micro entrepreneurs in terms of using technology is still not yet developed. So we need to really help them, assist them to gather that data and then to analyze it, number one. Two, incidentally, economy is so that despite of extremely well digitization and having digital transactions, still there is a lot of things which happen in cash economy. So cash economy is still quite high in India. So still we are not able to get all this data. Third, if you want to really understand their intention to pay along with the ability to pay, so you need to really assess the person. And they are not tech savvy, still not very tech savvy the way we want to analyze. So somewhere what we do, we use a phygital model to use them, to help them or assist them, then gather the data and then analyze the data. So from segment wise, the growth is extremely well and they're doing well. Now, when you talk about challenges, there are few challenges, and those challenges are the opportunities, obviously, right?
Always.
One, their availability of data is quite less. So around 28% of our customers are NTC, new to credit. So they don't have a credit history, credit record, and incidentally, they are considered most risky customers, which actually they are not, but they are considered that if you don't have a credit score, then you are high risk customer, and people are little apprehensive of giving credit to them. Two, if you do not have GST data, if you don't have a banking behavior, how do you analyze? So we use a lot of alternate data, which I earlier mentioned, to analyze their underwriting, to understand how much money they have borrowed from local market, right? How much money they have used something in India called committee, right? So how they are using that money, chit fund kind of thing, and then try to understand. So the challenge still remains that how do you bring into financial inclusion scheme to analyze their eligibility for credit, and most important in segment is intention to pay. That is, I will say, difficult task than the number. So we try to analyze that in PrestLoans, and so far that experience has been good. So to close this particular point, I will say the challenge is reaching out to all of them, understanding the requirement, fulfilling. This is a challenge, and this is the opportunity, which is what 90% plus of the total MSME in India. This is what I think is the challenge, and this is what the opportunity we have in India.
I would love to hear from Ashok, what would be the next big thing that will impact the growth of the general sector and enable them to perform much better, grow faster.
Sure, because I think before that you have learned a lot of Hindi, and you said kacha, pakka. Great. I mean, that is a core of MSME, I must say. One very important aspect, which I will say most fintech do not talk about, is, and largely because their concentration remains on personal loans, on unsecured business loans, which means they're not using any collaterals, property as collaterals. Hence, most conversations are towards GST data, banking data, alternate data, etc., etc. So let me touch upon 2-3 points. I think we have some time. One revolution happening in India, which is not getting noticed in fintech space, is digitization of property, land records. So a lot of states are gradually moving towards digitization of land records. So, and MSME, as everybody says, they are not able to get the required credit. So sometime, or I will say most of the time, they are forced or they need to give property as a collateral to the lenders. And they're okay with that. They're happy with that. They have no issue, no problem. Rather, they take advantage if they are giving any collateral. The amount goes up, the tenure goes up, the lending rate goes down. So in a way, they are happy to give their business premises or residential premises as a collateral and take credit facility. Now, this is the area where I must say, which is prone to the frauds as well, right? So there are areas where people are able to, people intentionally give forged documents, etc. And it is very, very difficult to really go to registrar office, verify the property documents, and take call on the business in terms of the quality of property, whether it is genuine or not. Of late, we have seen in last couple of years, and we also do some secured business loans where collateral is property as a collateral is taken. So this digitization is happening, which I will say is a real revolution, which is actually going to help MSMEs to avail credit at a lower rates, higher amount to meet their requirements. What is going to happen is you have all the property documents in digital format. So we will be able to mark our lien or hypothecation, or say what we call as mortgage, registered mortgage or equitable mortgage on those properties. This is going to change. So once this happens, let us say across India, and there is a mechanism in India where SARSAI, which is a regulated entity, and where we need to upload the data to ensure that this property is, let us say, in our name as a lender. So if you are going to consider that property, you will immediately see that this is already hypothecated to some other lender, and that prevents you for double financing is that. So I think this is a major change which is happening, and this is as good as your GST or banking transactions, where you will be able to look at the property, look at the details of the property, the size, and maybe to some extent valuation. So today they are discretionary. If you send someone, he will give his own legal opinion. You send a valuer, he will give his own valuation, and then you have to depend on them, right? You have to depend on third party in terms of assessing the property, because every lender does not have that expertise, right? Especially sitting at a central location. So once this entire data in digital format, then you don't go for any, let's say, physical documents. You have some kind of facility where you can look at it and value it, and then decide in terms of financing those properties. So I think this is another aspect which normally I've seen on all conversation gets ignored. Other than that, very important point which Rahul has used, and I want to add on to that, he said chatbots. So I have written one book called FinTech Entrepreneur's Guide, and in that I have one chapter which is like my favorite chapter, is 3 V's of FinTech. There are 3 V's, V for victory. So I say voice, video, and vernacular. So my sense is that we are going to move to voice bots. Today there are some fintechs or some tech companies who have already started using this technology, where when you want to communicate to your customer, it can be actually a two-way communication in the voice. So we have seen, let's say, for payment collections, right? Especially during the COVID time and all, you can call your customer, give him exact information. This is your EMI amount. This is the due date. Do you know? So you can wait for answer, yes, no. So it can be two-way. The customer might have some queries. What is my total loan outstanding? How many EMIs are pending? How many I have paid, etc. So that voice is little more comfortable to people. That is one. Second, I will say video, I will talk later, but then it's vernacular. So India being a very, very large country, and in fact, many people are not comfortable with English. So either they want Hindi, they want Tamil, they want Telugu, they want Malayalam, they want Punjabi. So they are much more comfortable. And we are, remember, we are talking about micro segment, right? Local people. So when you talk Hindi, we say, oh, you can talk Hindi, but they want, I'm comfortable communicating, talking, listening, understanding in my local language. So if you're able to cover, I will not say all, but let us say 7, 8, 10 major languages, and you go vernacular, you do two things. One is you meet the regulatory compliance in terms of, there is a regulation that if the person does not understand, you need to explain to them in their own language so that he understands what terms, condition, loan agreements you have. And we give a declaration that, okay, we have explained to the customer in his or her own language. So if this is a voice bot and you are able to communicate to those people, all your legal terms, agreements, communication, everything in his own language, let's say, this will revolutionize the way we do lending or any kind of fintech entity. And I feel it's not a big deal, actually, it's doable. So, and third is the way we are talking now, video. So the time of text, very long messages, all loan agreements around 30 to 100 pages, people don't even read it. So if you're able to make smaller to the people about product, so if it is video in vernacular language, this will help a lot to explain your product, your strategies, your services to, again, I'm going to SMEs, because when we meet them, and we've done some seminars, physical seminars to these smaller entrepreneurs. So a lot of them do not have website. So I tell them, ek chota sa, in Hindi, chota sa website bana lo, make a small website. We should just give some basic information about you, because the time is digital. So if as a lender, I want to see whether you have a website or not. Do you have a LinkedIn profile or not? You have a Facebook page or not, right? You have a Twitter account or not? So we tell them, please do all these things, right? So similarly, if they are able to make some use of technology, whether it is voice or videos or vernacular, so it's as a lender, these things will change a lot. I mean, we have seen newspapers. Look, people are now publishing in local news. They're Google, or when they want to search something, I have seen across country. I've traveled maybe 300 cities. So they see news in local language, means read in local language, not see. So similarly, if this can be done in fintech space, especially in the lending space, this is going to help those people immensely, and their understanding, their comfort, and it's a lot more psychological, I will say, in nature. Their comfort about that lending institution goes up, that okay, I'm able to talk to him in his language, in his style, and able to explain it better by way of a video communication or a two-way communication using voice bots. So that, I think, is a big thing which I expect. It has already started, but I think it's a very big thing which will happen in next maybe couple of years, and then you see the revised model, how the SME space is looking, how the micro MSME is looking at the lending institutions. I think that's going to. So, Becca, I mean, I just wanted to know some smaller things. You are having any geographical areas, limits where you are going to operate right now, or you are operating, or so, and how are you approaching these MSMEs?
So my connection is back. So sorry. So sorry for that. I heard parts of the question. So if
actually, Dekha, that in within India, are you focusing on some particular areas, locations within India in terms of operations? And
yeah.
which kind of MSMEs you are approaching? So you will approach MSMEs then, and then lenders can come in to finance them. So how this entire arrangement will work for you?
Yes, of course. Thanks for the question. So in terms of the geography, we are mostly geography agnostic, but we see again that in the western parts of India, we have higher demand. So that would be Maharashtra, Gujarat, Rajasthan. Here we have more of the customer base, but it's distributed all across, because basically the compliance, the requirements of the software is the same, but state by state, city by city, you need to find unique ways to do business because India is so diverse, right? So one thing again, to add on top also the previous question that Gio was answering, is the difference between us and the market right now is that the strategy has been for the last 3-4 years where enormous amounts of money have been raised and it's been spent solely on the marketing side. So the competition nowadays is sales organizations, right? They have huge sales teams and this operates in a different distribution model. We feel and we see that that wouldn't be our major strengths. So instead of building our distribution channels, feet on the street, like thousands of people on the street, hundreds of telecallers on the, trying to sell, we decided that the best way to go is to existing networks where we find partners where we can create mutual value for the customer base that they are already serving. And on the other hand, once that distribution channel opens up, on the other hand, the data that gets generated on our end enables embedded financing, embedded insurance, all of that on the other side. So that's a partnership is always a two-way game. Right. So one part is distributing the product, and we are looking for partners who can help for us to do that. But again, for partners for whom we can create this value of giving them ability to upsell, cross-sell, and also boost their revenues as well. So this is the approach that we're taking. So we're basically profitable in the bottom of the funnel when lead comes in terms of converting, selling the SaaS, like that's the profitable part. But now what the next challenge is to distribute at scale at smaller costs or cost sharing with the partners. And on the other hand, generate more revenue from same customer, not with SaaS, but with the additional products that we will be creating together, again, alongside our partners.
Thank you.